Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. My name is Lindsay, and this is Life with Lindsay. Today, we have a WIP Chat. If you do not know what a WIP Chat is, that is when I work on my current WIP, WIP, which is work in progress. And this one is Dahlia by Lynn from Diamond Art Club. This is what the pretty little one looks like. That sounded real creepy. You can pull out whatever it is that you are working on, whether it be a craft project, a household project. I have people tell me they like to listen to the WIP Chats while they're driving, while they're at work, on their way to work, while they're doing household chores, laundry, cleaning, cooking, whatever. They're also a really great way to just hang out with a friend. If you want to feel like you're doing something with someone, put on a WIP Chat. Preferably mine. And let's hang out. If you're new here, hi, welcome. I'm Lindsay. I do mainly diamond painting and some other crafting related content. I would love for you to like, subscribe, hit the bell, hop aboard the Hot Mess Express. Let's be friends. If you've been here before, hi, welcome. So, I did this canvas, worked on this canvas, I should say, in my last WIP Chat, but I have barely worked. It's been a bit of a chaotic week. And it's been hot and just things haven't necessarily been going my way in terms of like, let's go upstairs and craft for hours. My tiny human is very much awake. You can hear her on the monitor next to us. She's decided that like naps are no longer her thing, which like you don't get to decide that, my friend. I also have been slacking majorly in terms of keeping track of what I've been doing. So I'm sure there are going to be some days where I'm like, what? And I said this in my last WIP Chat, which if you didn't see my last one, I will link that one for you guys up in the eye. That was earlier this week because I was falling super behind. But I've just been using like my Google Map timeline. So it's been interesting. Let's see. I'm going to pull this out too. My hair is like, anybody else have that feeling? I have very long hair. I'm just going to preface it by saying that. Like, stupid long hair. And I told my sister's coming in to visit with her son in July, which I guess we're in July now. And I told her she could use my hair, I know this sounds very weird, to film a video. My sister is a jewelry reseller. She does live sales here on YouTube. I will link her down below, so check her out. But she has had a couple requests when she talks about her hair sticks. And well, I think it's twofold. One is I think it's a little bit difficult to film something like that on yourself. And two, she doesn't really want to be on camera that way. So I was like, girl, you can borrow my hair. That's fine. I'll just wait till you come before I cut it off. But it is so damn long right now. My husband and I are both going to be donating our hair before anybody is thinking anything. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before. We're both going to be donating our hair. But if I had to guess, which again, it's a total guesstimate right now, I would say between the two of us, we're probably going to be donating close to 3 feet of hair. So there's that. But anyway, the backtracking like a minute here, my hair, because the way I'm sitting, I guess, it's like stabbing me in my back. And I know that's such a weird thing, but when you have long hair and your hair sheds, like you can have short hair and it sheds, but it like weaves itself into the fibers of your clothes when it goes through the wash. So I can feel it like stabbing me and also just like draping on me. Usually I have my hair up in a high, like messy bun for that reason. Oh, I almost just put the wrong color down. Don't do that, Lindsay. So, anyway, however many minutes we are in now, I hope that you guys had a wonderful week. I will say, for us here in the States, it is 4th of July weekend as I am filming this. To all my Canadian friends, I hope you guys had a wonderful Canada Day. I can tell you, I'm not particularly wanting to be patriotic this weekend because I personally, as a woman, don't really have a whole lot to celebrate. So that's all I'm going to say on that. And if you guys have a problem with that, you can absolutely turn off the video now and skedaddle, and no need to announce your departure. As I lovingly say, this is not an airport. No need to announce your departure. But my daughter is super into the American flag, so put her in an American flag outfit yesterday. We may or may not try to go see some fireworks tonight. The only problem is fireworks because it doesn't get dark till like hella late. Thanks, summertime. You know, anybody else have this problem with their kid? Like, my kid is one of those people to be 9:30 at night, 10 o'clock at night, and she's like, it's not nighttime, it's still bright out. I'm like, girl, it's 3 hours past your bedtime. Go to sleep. It is exhausting. Fighting with a tiny human, because, like, she does not understand the concept of time. If you've never had a child, this is something that, like, they don't tell you this before you have a kid. Like, kids, small kids, they have zero concept of time. Like, yesterday and a month ago and 4 years ago are the same thing. Or in our house, it's all Nesterday, as Briar calls it. Which I think is super cute, but hey, AB with no AB coding. So yeah, that's been fun. But anyway, let me tell you guys about my week. It's probably going to be a little bit disjointed, but what's new? Last weekend, I took Briar to this party with the princesses. I don't remember what it was officially called, but it was down in, bless you, in the Gettysburg area, which is like an hour and 15 minutes away from where I am. And I took her. My husband, he was like, well, I can come with you. I was like, I have to get you a ticket. And he's like, never mind, don't waste your money on this, because there were probably like 1 or 2 dads that I saw there, but those were families that had like a bunch of kids, and I think it was for like their safety in numbers kind of thing. But I took Briar. She wanted to meet Tiana. She always wants to meet Tiana. Tiana's, if you guys did not know, if you've not been here long, Tiana is my daughter's absolute _1 princess. It's the _1, like, when we go to Disney, that's her goal, is to meet Tiana. Like, she just, Tiana. And if you guys have never seen Princess and the Frog and you're not sure if it's your jam, it's your jam. Let me tell you, it is a strong, independent woman who works hard for everything she has. She doesn't need a man. But, you know, it's Disney, so you put 2 and 2 together. But, we went, and you had 2 options. You could have, like, a picnic blanket, or you could have, like, tables. I looked at the price tag, and I said, well, we're going to be sitting on a blanket then, because I'm not spending that much money for us to sit at a table. Well, if I were to ever do this again, 100% I'd be getting a table. I was miserable. So it was hosted at this gorgeous bed and breakfast, like gorgeous. And it was funny because there was a person pulling up that wanted to check out the venue for like a wedding event. Did I just pull a color I don't need? No, I do need that. And they were like, this might not be a good day, huh? And the people running the princess event were like, we're a little bit busy. I was like, oh, that's an understatement. But the venue itself was gorgeous. So I could not tell you how many kids were there. A lot. And we waited in line forever to get our little, basically they were like Dunkin' Donuts Munchkin boxes, but they were unbranded, and they had all of our food, which I had to pay for. And it was charcuterie. I did 1 lunch and 1 brunch one. Sorry, I'm cracking my knuckles on camera. That's probably not appealing to everyone. And it was like 91 degrees that day. It was so hot and gross. So by the time we got our food, it felt like I had already been out in the sun for a very, very long time. So we got our food. We sat on our picnic bench. And they had those, because it was a bed and breakfast, all of those, like, you ever have, like, breakfast in bed? Or, like, you see on the movies, like, the quintessential breakfast in bed. They have the tray, and they have all the stuff on it. That's how they had the table set up, or the blanket set up. It was very cute. You could see they put in a lot of time and effort. However, eating charcuterie in the direct sunlight was not, I would say, the wisest idea. And I can tell you that my belly agreed, because I ended up getting food poisoning. So when we filled out all the paperwork, they had asked us, you know, are there any princesses that you are looking most forward to seeing? And I had specified Tiana, Tiana, Tiana. There was Tiana, Rapunzel, Belle, Mirabelle, Snow White was supposed to be there, but they replaced her with Elsa. I think there was another one. There were 6 of them in total, I think. And I had specified Tiana. Now, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it was coincidental, but our blanket was at the very bottom of the stairwell where all of the princesses came down. And the first princess that came directly to our area was Tiana. Now, could it have been that I was the only person that requested Tiana? Maybe. But it gave my daughter all this false hope because, like, literally, they came right to us. And they kept saying, do not leave your area. The princesses will all come. Every one of them will come to you. Just be patient. I understood that concept. My 4-year-old did not. I mean, and that's to be expected. You know, like 4-year-olds, again, they don't understand concept of time. But if they saw a princess come to them right away, they think the next one will come that quickly, not understanding that, like, most of the other people had to wait a significant time for a first princess to come. So anyway, we're sitting there, and her behavior was just not great from the start. Having to just continuously stand in line and wait around and stand in another line and wait around. Stop touching the dirt. Stop touching the plants. Like, she does not understand. You can't just pull grass from someone else's yard. She does that at our house, and it drives us crazy, but it's our own house. This kid is yelling, and I hope that it's not super, super loud for you guys. This is all excited yells, not, like, distressed yells. Come on. I see you, little concave drill. Anyway, so she was not happy. She was super impatient. Finally, you know, somebody else came over and she believed me. But our blanket was 100% in the sun. And they kept telling us we can move our blankets a little bit further over if we'd like. Any further over, I would have been in the dirt. Well, guess where my daughter was then? In the dirt. So she's like digging in the dirt, and I am telling her to leave it alone. And then she's freaking out because now it's hot and she's in the sun. No princess is over here. She's tired. I'm just like, okay, let's keep it together. We can make it through this. It'll be okay. So finally, I don't remember the order in which the princesses came, but Belle came over and she did a twirl with Briar. Briar twirled really fast and hard and face planted into our tiny table. It is a week later and she still has a bruise on her face. Constantly arguing with me on everything. Like, she didn't want to use the bathroom, even though she needed to use the bathroom. And then when I was like, it's time to use the bathroom. No, I don't want to. Then she goes to use the bathroom. I finally convinced her after God knows how long. And then she's yelling at me that she needs help, but she doesn't want me in the bathroom. And I'm like, kid, you are literally working on every last nerve that I have. I'm already heightened because my child is the only child that I can see. I'm sure there were other kids there not listening to their parents, but the only one rolling around in the dirt, the only one throwing a tantrum, the only one kicking and screaming about anything. And I'm over here. I took the napkin from our silverware, and I basically wore it as a cape because I could feel my skin just searing out in the hot sun. It was miserable. It was absolutely miserable, and it was not worth it at all for me. I'm sure other people went and enjoyed it and had a great experience. That was not me. Then I get out into the parking lot, which is literally a grass field, and nobody's paying attention. People are scrambling in and out. Nobody's paying attention to the people walking across the parking lot. So here I am, like, dragging Briar while she's kicking and screaming and getting mad at me because it's too hot out and I need to make it less hot out for her, as if I'm God. And I just realized I'm pretty sure I'm out of frame, but I don't think anyone's actually watching this. And if you are, I apologize. Yeah, I'm like right at the bottom of the frame. And so finally we get to the car, and there's this older woman. I'm assuming that she was the grandparent of the children that was with her. And she was parked to my right. So on my passenger side. My daughter sits in the back seat on the passenger side. And obviously, if I'm driving, I'm on the driver's side. So we get over, and this woman's just chilling with her door open. And I was like, well, I'm just going to have to deal with it, you know? So finally, after what felt like 15 minutes, it was probably just a few minutes, she closed her door, and I went to go get my kid into the car and to get her change of clothes because she was wearing a ball gown. And the door didn't want to unlock, so I had to keep her, and I dragged her to the other side of the car. This point, Briar's done. I'm done. We're both, like, yelling at each other. You know, not my finest parenting moment, but I was over it at that point. I was like, I am ready to leave. I want to get out of here. I never want anything to do with this ever again. Like, I was miserable. You know, it is what it is. So now I have to drag Briar back to the other side of the car because my keys are in my diaper bag. And so I can't get them out and to use the clicker. So I pushed the button on the side of the car, which only unlocked one side. It was a disaster. So this lady who stood there with her door open forever. I should probably also preface this by saying that my daughter has very poor safety awareness. And what I mean by that is, like, if you put her in a parking lot, her immediate instinct is going to be to run, to wander towards the cars, things like that. And it's, when you're in a place, especially a place like this where nobody is paying attention, it's like you have to have your eyes on her at all time. And it's not a matter of like she's being a bad kid or she's misbehaving. She just totally lacks safety awareness. Okay, now we got that out of the way. So anyway, I go and I get my kids' clothes. And I'm like, Briar, just hurry up. Because she didn't want to get into the back of the car to change. She wanted to sit on the grass and change. And I was like, oh my God, like, we have to move. Because there's cars driving. And honestly, for it being a bunch of parents, grandparents, caregivers of small children, nobody was paying attention to the cars next to them. Or the people next to them. Or whatever. So she's freaking out. I'm freaking out. And this lady looks at me and she goes, ma'am, are you okay? And I was like, I'm fine. And then she just takes one look at me, opens her fat mouth and goes, I don't think that she did anything wrong. Like, and I just looked at her and I go, I don't think I asked you for your opinion. Now, let me just say, this woman, I couldn't tell you if she was whatever size she was. So I apologize for using that as my descriptor here. But listen, if you're going to open your mouth for something that you weren't invited to be a part of the conversation, you're going to have to accept the angry tones that come back and reply with it. And she was like appalled. And I was appalled because, like, lady, I did not ask for your opinion. I did not ask for your 2 cents. I did not ask for your 1 cent. I did not ask for you to even look my way. And all she saw was the interaction between my daughter and I at the end of a very long day. We had taken an hour and however long to get there, sat in the blazing hot sun for a couple hours, had nobody paying attention, almost hit my daughter. This woman's keeping her door open. I was done. Like, put a fork in me, I am done. And I was just like, and I saw her like eyeing my car. In Pennsylvania, we don't have front tags. When I was younger, like, I was astonished to see that there were some states that did, because we never had that. And I could see she was trying to figure out a way to, like, find my license plate number. And I wanted to be like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Call and report me for parenting my own child? I was livid. I was like, don't look at me. Like, this has nothing to do with you. And again, she only saw a snippet of what she saw. And she saw the moment where everything culminated together. The emotions were beyond heightened. It was just done. Now, thankfully, my best mom friend lives not super far from there, which is also a bummer because that just tells you how far away my best mom friend is. But we ended up meeting them at Dairy Queen, and we had a really wonderful time just sitting in the air conditioning, letting the kids hang out. I needed it. Briar needed it. She was significantly better when we were there. Oh my God. And somebody even asked me, like, would you do it again? Hell no, I wouldn't do it again. I would never do it again. Which means that if it comes up as, like, a thing, you know, I'm probably going to do it again because I'm a glutton for punishment. And my kid, even though it ended up being the two of us just, like, arguing and being over everything, I think she thoroughly enjoyed herself. But oh my God, you guys. Like, if you're a parent and you have never been triggered by your own child, you're lying to yourself. I can't even begin to describe how exhausting that day was. And I needed that little moment with another human being with my friend. And actually, she's funny. She's like, what's your calendar look like? And I, like, sent her a screenshot of my calendar. Because she's got her own kids and their therapies and doctor's appointments and, you know, all that stuff that she has to juggle. And she was like, we should plan a day. So we actually planned a day for, I think, August. Tentatively. It's both scheduled in pencil for both of us. But it was funny. She asked me one of the days. She goes, how about this date? And I go, oh, actually, I'm going to be out of town. She's like, it's not on your calendar. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's not because we were supposed to do something leading into it. That got canceled. So I just didn't have it. But she's like, I feel ya. My husband's the same way. If I send him the schedule and it's not what it showed, he's like, this wasn't on the calendar. But, you know, it sucks feeling like you're on this weird island as a parent or as a caregiver. I imagine if you care for, you know, your elderly parents, it's probably something similar too. But it's nice to have somebody who understands at least a little bit of your world that isn't the person you see every day. Like, yeah, it's great that my husband and I get to spend time together all the time, but, like, just like he wants to spend time with his friends from time to time, I too want to spend time with my friends from time to time. So, we had a wonderful time, and it was worth it. It was worth... Why do these seem so far apart? It was worth all the bullshit just to have, like, that, like, hour with my kid. And then, of course, as soon as we pack up, what does Briar try to do? Run into the parking lot. I'm like, God damn it. So if you ever see me out in public and you see my kid on a harness, yeah, I do it for her safety. We actually haven't had to use it in a really long time, but I feel like these drills are just far enough apart that, like, maybe I missed somewhere and there should be an extra drill. But I don't think that's accurate. So I'm going to preface the rest of the week by saying sometime between, like, 2 weeks ago and now, we ended up watching all of the Toy Story movies. Part of it was because I showed my daughter a video of the Slinky Dog ride at Toy Story Land, or whatever it's officially called at Disney. And we've tried watching with her. And she's never had any interest in watching the Toy Story movies. But the best was, at one point, my husband turned on Toy Story 2. And I don't know if that was this week or last week. Might have been last week. But she was saying, Daddy, I already saw Toy Story. And he's like, no, like Toy Story 2. And she was thinking, like, Toy Story as well, not like Toy Story TWO. And she was very, very confused. And that's when you realize, like, kids don't understand grammar and things like that. But we ended up watching a movie on Monday. It was, I was beyond exhausted. I briefly touched up on this. I ended up getting some food poisoning from the event. It totally sucked. I mean, listen, you're eating meat and cheese out in the blistering sun. It can only last for so long before it's no longer safe to eat. However, I'm sure other people didn't have that same problem because I'm sure a lot of them had shade. There was nowhere that I could put the boxes that wasn't in direct sunlight. And, you know, I was mad my kid didn't eat. Well, now I'm happy she didn't eat because then she didn't end up getting food poisoning. I was like viciously ill for like an hour overnight. And then my body just like gave way and collapsed and I slept. And so Brian's like, we're going to do a movie. And I was like, good idea. Good idea. Hot days, gross days, sick days, those all call for movies. So pretty sure one of the Toy Stories was watched that day. But Brian made pasta for dinner. And I was just like, I really want cheesy garlic bread or cheesy breadsticks. And my husband's like, well, where are you proposing that you're going to get these, or are you going to make them? And I was like, oh no, I'm not making them. Could I have gone to the market and bought like the stuff you put in the oven? Yeah, but that seemed like too much effort. So I decided, if you guys were here when I talked about the horrific customer service experience I had with the Pizza Hut in my town, I decided it's just breadsticks. It's just breadsticks. How hard can it be? Let's do breadsticks. So I went like Domino's. Pizza Hut, I'm sure Domino's does too, but Pizza Hut has like online deals that sometimes are really good. So I could get an order of breadsticks and a 2-liter cheaper than I could get an order of breadsticks if they were ordered off the menu as is. And I was like, well, hell yeah. And so I ordered it with a Sierra Mist. So I get to the window, and right away, I knew this was the same manager I dealt with the last time. However, I didn't deal with him directly last time. I only spoke with him on the phone. If you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, if I can find it, I will link it up in the eye. It was one of my WIP chats I was talking about this. But anyway, he hands me a pizza box, and I just looked at him and I go, I ordered breadsticks. And instead of saying, oh, let me double check on that, he like snatched it away from me, looked inside, realized that it was breadsticks, and then immediately blamed his staff. I don't know why they would do such a thing. This is so stupid. And I'm like, you know, if you're a team lead of any sort, a manager, an assistant manager, or whatever, it can't always be your staff's fault. And also, you look like a piss poor manager when you're blaming your staff. Like, honestly, I was fine with having 3 orders of breadsticks because I ended up getting 1 order of regular breadsticks and an order of cheesy breadsticks or whatever it was. And that was fine. I just wanted to make sure it was the right thing before I drove away. And I didn't want to open somebody else's food. You know what I mean? And then he's just standing there and I go, I also got a 2-liter. And immediately he got upset that I had ordered it with a Sierra Mist, and apparently because of vending issues, they haven't had a Sierra Mist, which, like, okay, that's totally cool, bro. But he, like, started freaking out, and he's like, and I can't control that. That's just the way, and I was like, whoa, like, I didn't even say anything, man. I said, like, I was, like, flabbergasted at this point. And honestly, I said, well, what else do you have? I don't do cola. And instead of just reading off what else he had, well, why don't you do Coca-Cola? Why don't you do cola products? Is there something wrong? Is it a medical? Are you alert? I'm like, whoa, first of all. And I just looked at him. I go, man, it's none of your business, but I don't do cola. So what else do you have? And he's just like going off on me. And I was like, I don't even remember if I told him it was none of his business or if I thought that. I might have just thought that. But still, like, I literally had asked him what else there was, and I never got upset. I never got frustrated. I never raised my voice. Like, nothing. And this dude is just going off, and I was like, how is this man in charge of other people? Like, how? I don't get it. It was fine. I ended up getting root beer instead. I personally don't like any cola. I don't like Pepsi. I don't like RC Cola. I don't like Coke. I don't like any of the flavored ones. Like, I don't like cherry Coke. I don't like vanilla Coke. Like, I don't like any of that stuff. I am more, if I drink soda, I'm more of like a lemon lime kind of person, or, I do like root beer. But I was just like, oh my God, why is this dude freaking out about something so little? Like, I'm literally just like, dude, you're the one amped right now, not me. And I was like, good Lord, I cannot believe I've spent half of this WIP chat already talking about just 2 days of the week. So anyway, next day was Tuesday. We went ice skating. There were a lot of kids there that day, probably the most kids I've seen in a long time. And I'm noticing we've got a lot of hockey kids that are coming in, which is great, you know, good for them. But when that happens, the kids are really experienced. My daughter feels like inadequate and just watches the bigger kids as they're skating. And like there was a little girl there who was 2 or 3 years older than Briar, and she plays hockey year round. They just have like a short break over the summer. Excuse me. And she like basically speed skates compared to my daughter. She just flies, and Briar just sits there and watches her, and she's totally in awe, and not in, you know, a bad way, but when she sees kids like that, I just feel like sometimes she just doesn't necessarily skate up to her potential. And so I talked to her instructor, and I was like, I would like to do a private lesson with you. I think I want to see if that makes a difference. I mean, cost-wise, obviously it costs a lot more to have private lessons, and I don't think my daughter's at that point where she needs to have constant private lessons, but I do think that we are at a point where it would make a difference. So we scheduled a session for Friday, and we continued on with our day. We went over to Target. My husband found the first plain Sabra hummus that he has found since... like, it's been months. I've talked about this in another WIP Chat.
March.
See, I was thinking it was even earlier than that, but yeah, it could have been. Sabra hummus, if you guys didn't know, like, basically the plant that was, like, producing them, is closed, and because they were having all these issues, and supply chain issues, and all these other things, and now it's slowly starting to come back to certain markets. We have not seen any in our supermarkets locally, so that was like a huge surprise that my husband found that. I found that for my husband at the market, and he was very, very excited about that. Then we went over to Chili's for lunch, and somehow we always end up with the same waiter every time we go there, and Briar talks to him like he knows who mommy and daddy are. Like the one day she was doing the intro to my video, and he's just looking at her like, oh, okay, cool. And she's like, hello, hello, like wiggling her fingers. And then she's like, my mommy's Life.W.Lindsay. And I'm like, oh my God. You're a cute kid, but he has no idea who Life.W.Lindsay is, you know. I mean, I think I would probably be even more awkward if he was like, oh my God, I love your videos. I'd probably be like, wait.
No, it's really awkward if he actually does know who you are, and he's like, she doesn't know who I am.
But we had a good time. Briar, I think Briar's going through a growth spurt right now. She's like eating some of the weirdest things. Like, you're like, oh, she's not gonna eat that much, and she'll like tear down a meal, or other meals where you're like, oh, this is like her favorite thing. She's like barely touching it. But she had, I think it was a flavored lemonade. I don't know. I don't even remember at this point. But she enjoyed herself. And we had to go over to Target. We did that. I think that's it for that day. Maybe we watched another movie that evening. It's been, this week here has been stupid hot and really, really muggy and really, really gross. So, we've been trying not to be outside for, like, outdoor play if we didn't need to be. She's not good at a lot of things. And if anybody didn't hear it, my husband, he said she's not good at regulating herself. And when I said she's not good at a lot of things, I don't mean, like, she's not skilled at activities, like...
she'll run herself until she passes.
Yeah, she'll refuse to drink water. I think part of that is because she doesn't want to have to use the bathroom, and she knows, like, if she drinks, she's going to have to. You guys, it's a mess. And in case anyone's curious how potty training is going or isn't going or whatever you want to say, in general, it's going well. However, my daughter is still not self-motivated to use the toilet, and she'll use any excuse under the sun to not have to use the toilet because that's just how she is. Okay, fine, whatever. But the problem is she's waiting to the point that, like, her belly is going to explode because she's so full, and then she pees on the floor in the bathroom because she cannot make it to the toilet quick enough. And that's where I am with that. What? I need 9 and X. 9 is number 31. Sorry, my arm's all up in your business. We got my storage containers right up here, so if you guys ever see me, like, reaching across, that's what's happening. And I need the dash. I love, shout out to companies who put, Legends on both sides. Anybody watch Legends of the Hidden Temples when they were kids? Just total side note. Where am I at? What did I just put down? What symbol are you? This is, if you guys want to know what my brain is like all the time, that series of questions that I asked out loud, that's what it's always like in my brain. So next day, went to music class. We had a new little family there with 2 little guys. The one was wearing a bucket hat the whole time, and it was the cutest thing ever. And the other was like baby. And we had a good time. Briar loves her music class. I will also point out, there are certain times of the day that we require our kid to use the toilet. Every time we leave music class is one of them, because they have like a kid-sized bathroom, so she can do it all by herself, because we're at that age where she wants to be completely independent. And then if she needs your help, gets mad because she wants your help, but she doesn't want you to give it to her. And it's like, well, I don't know how that's going to work, kiddo. I don't know. Anytime we leave, anytime before a meal, anytime before and after nap. Or sleeping, even if no sleeping is had. But the other fun fact about my daughter is that if you tell her to use the potty, she doesn't want to use it because you told her to use it, but yet she won't do it on her own. So, total tangent. Anyway, what else did we do that day? We ended up going to Staples. My husband just reopened Customs. If you guys are looking to get a custom Funko pop figure, now is the time to do it, because they've been closed for a while he works on a massive order and just didn't have the manpower. It's just him, if you guys didn't know, to take on any additional orders while working on an almost 100-piece order, which is amazing. But, you know, he wants to be able to pay all of his attentions to his customers and give them the attention to detail that they deserve. Anyway, he's always linked down below in case you guys are ever trying to figure out how to get a hold of him. But he has some stuff ready to ship in his shop that sold, and he had to get some boxes printed. And then we went to this restaurant. So my husband and I had both seen all over, like, I'm in a local mom group, and then I'm in like 2 or 3 local area groups. You know, I'm looking for a carpenter, or does anybody have any recommendations, or blah, blah, blah. So this place has been touted like the best food around. And first of all, we could not for the life of us find it. Finally, we found it. And I was like, well, that makes sense. But we ate there expecting it to be this like total knock your socks off kind of meal. And it was pretty just okay. The concept of the food was great. I had a crab scotch egg, I think I don't remember what it was officially called. And it was good, but it wasn't like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing I've ever eaten. And it was expensive, and, you know, it just was one of those meals, but we enjoyed the experience. It definitely would be like a good date night kind of restaurant if that was something we ever had a chance to do. Or my husband's like, this would be a great place to like grab a drink with my brother, or, you know, with a friend, because it has a really cool atmosphere and like ambiance. But
I'm sure they have really cool like
drink specials and yeah, absolutely. And you know, I am not, my husband, neither one of us are like big drinkers at all. But even if we do get a drink, like neither one of us is like really wanting to drink while our kids around. And like that's a personal preference. Like I totally understand. There are some people who like they have a beer with dinner every single night, or, you know, whatever it is. But, like, that's just my personal preference. Every once in a while, like, the one time we went to Chili's, because I was like, I really want a Bloody Mary. I was having a hard day, and I was like, I deserve it. And, you know, but the other thing is we also have a 4-year-old who wants to try everything that we drink. And, you know, I don't know about you guys, but that's kind of frowned upon, so we don't do it. But, anyway, we did that. We ended up going to the ice cream parlor for dessert. Sorry, I'm trying to move some things around here. And we saw that... Did I just put the wrong color down? I don't think so. I guess we'll find out in a minute. The MOT, as I call it. The moment of truth. Let's see, everybody. I didn't. Okay. So... Anyway, we, I totally just lost my train of thought because of that. Oh, we went to ice cream. And then we saw the same little family from our music class who just joined the group. And it's funny, I love when they were like, oh, we're from out, we just moved here. And I'm like, oh, where'd you guys come from? From like an hour away. And I'm like, that's sweet. Like, that's not, most people when they say they just moved here from somewhere else, like they moved here from the other side of the state or out of the state or whatever. But it was just sweet. And so we were chatting with her, and like Brian's like, you tell this woman recognized us, and I couldn't figure out where from. And I was like, oh, I mean, I figured it out pretty quickly, but it was funny because like the husband was just standing there awkwardly like, hey, but so we did that. It was nice. And then the next day we finally had a swim lesson. You guys, this was the first time in weeks we had a lesson because she has an outdoor pool, our teacher, and if it's bad weather, they can't put kids in the pool. Makes sense. Totally fine. Totally agree with it. However, it's really difficult when your kid has everything she's been waiting for, and then it gets canceled, and then she gets upset because she doesn't understand. So she was telling her that, like, today's going to be the day we're going to get our face wet. And you could tell Briar was not super excited about it. But then Briar went all in, like 100% completely under the water. Shimmied across she pushed off with her feet. I was so incredibly proud of her. And then she comes up and she's like, I'm so proud of myself. Look what I did. And, those are the moments, like, as parents, you're just like, that was so sweet and so perfect. And, like, she really was proud of herself, and she deserved to be proud of herself for everything she did. But like, she just kept going on and on about how proud she was. And I was like, my little baby, she's growing up. But a lot of kids don't like water in their face. So, we weren't sure how well or not well it was going to go, but it went well. She did good. I was shocked with how well she did. Well, I think also she knows that once she can swim on her own from one side of the pool to the other side of the pool, that she is then allowed to jump off the diving board. And like, there were two big kids there before her, and that was what they got to use their extra time doing, was jumping off the diving board. And she was like, oh my God, I want to do that. And I think that really, really helped. But this was one of those days that we had other stuff to do, but we had an awkward amount of time to do it. So I had a chiropractor appointment, I think it was like 11:45, and a lot of my appointments are scheduled for 2 o'clock because they're over Briar's nap time, and they get a kick out of her. And so every however many sessions I have, I like to schedule at least 1 or 2 where she can come in with me. So the problem was we didn't really have enough time to like go home and do anything and then go have like eat lunch at home and then go to the chiropractor. So we ended up going over to the outlets where there is a Disney store, which is very, very close to where we live. Now, first thing I'm going to say is my kid has been talking, I don't know why, about cotton candy for like a week. She wants to eat the cotton candy. We're talking about the cotton candy, the way it looks, the way it feels, the way it tastes, all of that stuff. I don't know where this is coming from. And I actually had just put a post up in my local moms group the other day that outside of the amusement park, where can I get real cotton candy? I didn't want the stuff that comes in a bucket from the supermarket because that is a very different texture. And we park the car and get out of the car. Wouldn't you believe it? There is like a cotton candy vending machine, and you put your money in and it actually like spins the sugar right then and there. You pick which, I don't know if it was supposed to be like what color and shape you wanted. And actually, I'm going to insert a clip of it right here for you guys, and I'll be right back. I know, I see it.
I know.
So that's all sugar that's being spun really, really fast. Oh, it's going to be in the shape of our flower. Oh my God. So that's what it looked like. I hope that you guys thought that was as cool as I did. Bless you. And then we went into the Disney store. Now, this is not like an up for debate thing. I was looking to see, my daughter has the smallest size masks that Disney sells, and they fit her face really well, but now she's grown, she's, 4.5 now, and so I needed to size up, and I was trying to see if they had any of them in store, and they had literally had 2 packs of masks in the whole store, and I don't think either one of them were her size, but I knew it wasn't something like a pattern that she would even wear, so I didn't even bother looking too in deep, but they were in depth, but they were like, oh, just so you know, everything that's on clearance is an additional 25% off. So if you guys live near an outlet, and honestly, I don't know if this sale is still going on by the time this goes up, but I got a throw pillow from the 70th anniversary of Alice in Wonderland with the art, and it was absolutely incredible. It was on sale for $4.98, and then an additional 25% off, plus the throw blanket. They had the teacups, the bowls, the plates, all the ceramic ware. They had tons of mugs on sale, tons of costumes on sale, pajamas, certain clothing on sale, because they're trying to make way for like Christmas stuff. It really worked out in our favor. We ended up getting a boatload of stuff, stuff that we didn't need, stuff that we could utilize, and stuff that we wanted for an unbelievably low price. I could not believe how little I spent, like, on what we got. But Briar picked up an Anna and an Elsa doll, and I'm like, ooh, we are getting dangerously close here to Barbie territory. We have the same doll from that series, like a doll from that series, that's Tiana, and she's been really wanting Frozen all of a sudden, so I was like, okay. I think seeing Elsa at the princess thing kind of sparked it, but the best was, she's like, I've never met anyone who's got hair as long as Elsa. And I'm thinking to myself, like, girl, you just met Rapunzel. Rapunzel's got hair, like, literally to the floor. And I just looked at her. If you guys did not know, my hair is probably 1 inch to 2 inches below the waist of my underwear. Like, it is ridiculously long right now. And I just looked at her and I go, I have longer hair than Elsa. And she goes, no, you don't. I'm like, am I going to have to prove to this kid by braiding my hair in a side braid? But then I was like, even if I proved it to her, she would still argue with me that I was wrong, because that's just the child that we have. But yes, I've, sometimes people are shocked to see how long my hair is, because my hair is always up. And the main reason my hair is always up is because it is that long right now. It is so long. It like gets in the way of things. It gets caught in things. And honestly, like, for like my own purposes, I would never have my hair be this long as like a regular thing. Yes, I've had long hair most of my life. I've also had very, very short hair and a mohawk. But I am only keeping it as long as it is right now because I'm going to be cutting it off and donating it. And honestly, if it can just be in a ponytail or a bun and be out of my way, like, sure. My mom used to like get upset, like, why do you have it so long if nobody's gonna see it? And I'm like, because I don't know, it's a pain to keep it down. But if I can let it go, as long as I can let it go, and know that it'll help more than one person, or, you know, whatever, like, why wouldn't I? And I know that's a luxury that not everybody has. I know not everybody can grow their hair really long. Not everybody wants to grow their hair really long, but this is just, I've been doing this since I was a kid. I just grow my hair out until I can't handle it anymore, and then when I want a haircut, I just donate it. But we did that. We ended up going to the chiropractor, and then we went out to lunch with my husband afterwards, which I enjoyed. Briar had a sprinkle pancake, and she thought it was like the most inventive thing she's ever seen, and I'm like, girl, you've had like chocolate chip pancake. It's not very different. And then we went to the market to get some stuff. On Saturday, we had a really wonderful social event that we went to. I'll talk to you guys about that in a second. But we needed to get the ingredients for it. So Friday, we were supposed to have a private lesson with her skating instructor. And it's now like, her lesson was supposed to be at 1, and it's now 10:30, and her coach calls me and tells me, I had oral surgery this morning, and I thought the bleeding would stop by now. And I'm thinking to myself, like, why would you schedule a lesson on a day you have oral surgery scheduled? Like, I would never have agreed to it if I had known that she's tough. She's one of those people, like, she does not let anything slow her down or stop her at all. Like, she's good. Excuse me. But, of course, then now Briar was devastated because she's been looking forward to it. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it was just a weird time because I was like, it's very similar to what happened to us like a previous week for something else being canceled. But Briar then wants to go and do something to make up for the fact that she doesn't get to do the things she was already supposed to do. I get it. Fine. Whatever. But I was like, kid, we don't have time to go to the trampoline park or go to the play place or go here or go there. So my husband's like, well, I have to go to Walmart. And Briar's like, ooh, Walmart has toys. I want to go. So we went to Walmart. We had to get a cooler, or a drink dispenser, if you will. So we did that, and then ended up having lunch down the street at, like, a cafe. Listen, I understand that, like, we're still in pandemic land, but, like, this place, they will only give you, like, basically glorified Dixie cups of water because they want you to buy, like, their bottled water. Great, I understand, but, like, I've been outside in the heat. I just want some water real quick to just, and clearly they were like, no. So they give you these tiny little cups that they can't refill. So then they have to throw them out to get you a new one, which they're all about saving the environment, which I'm like, isn't water, like, cups that are cardboard and paper more recyclable than plastic? But I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know. Not the point. But then they make you pay for everything up front. So if you're like, oh, okay, well, I want to add another cup of coffee, then you have to buy it separately. And every time it defaults to like a tip. And I'm like, I already tipped you guys. Like, I already paid for my, I find it weird to pay for and tip for service that you haven't had yet. That might just be me. But, and then we went over to the Goodwill. We've been wanting to get Briar a roller suitcase for skating. She's got a bag, but the problem is the bag, when she has all of her stuff in, she can't hike it up high enough. And so then she's like dragging the bag on the floor, and we found one for like $6, and I wouldn't use it for travel purposes. It was like soft-sided on the top, but it'll work for what we need to at the rink. Like, we're not going to competitions or anything like that. We're literally just going in for, our weekly lessons. But we did all that. And so that seemed to, like, satisfy everything that she needed that day. But then Saturday, a woman who used to work for Brian when he still worked in retail, she was his assistant manager at one point. We've stayed friends with her. She comes to our driveway barbecues, all these things. She had explained to us a couple years that she does this big pig roast for like the family, and it was literally like us and all the cousins and all of the aunts and uncles and parents, grandparents, great-grandparents. Like, there were just so many people like related to her, and then it was us and Briar, and then our friends came as well. They all are friends and have worked together in some capacity, and it was absolutely fantastic. My daughter is at that age now where, like, if you say to her, this is chicken, she understands what chicken is, but does she understand that it is the same thing as a chicken? And then she'll argue with you that you're not eating a chicken, you're just eating chicken. And we're like, yes, but do you hear yourself? Like, she's not quite sure that she's actually eating an animal, and, I don't want to push it because I don't want it to be awkward, and I don't want her to not enjoy what she's eating. But I let her see there was an entire, like, a whole hog on the spit. And previously to this, the only time I've ever had whole hog, which obviously I didn't eat a whole pig by myself, was on our honeymoon in Hawaii. And it was, quite the sight to see, and it was absolutely incredible. And, but she was like, whoa, look at that whole piggy. Look, the whole piggy's in there. And then she ate some of it. And I was like, okay, so there's been no weird questions, no whatever. But it was such a fantastic time. My husband brought his deviled eggs, which recently have become like his world famous deviled eggs. Everyone keeps asking for them. They want the recipe. If you guys ever ask my husband for a recipe for anything, like, it's not going to be, use a cup of this, use a tablespoon of this. He just, like, measures by eyeballing and tasting, and especially when it's something you've made a million times, you don't really, you know that it's, like, half a squirt, or, like, you know, a capful, or not real measurements, you know what I mean? And he brought those deviled eggs. By the time dinner happened, there were no deviled eggs left. I didn't get one. But they were very good. Very good. I can't complain because I had one before. I don't think I had any this time. Maybe I did. I don't know. Excuse me. But she had some of her little cousins there. So Briar got to play. And if you guys haven't been around much, my kiddo is a kid living in an adult world. And what I mean by that is, like, she's literally only around adults. She doesn't go to school, although she is enrolled for the fall. She doesn't have any little cousins, so she's very, very rarely around kids. And when she is, she doesn't really know how to interact with them because that's not her norm. So there was a little guy who was 7, and he was playing with her. He was teaching her how to do this. They were playing with water balloons. Briar was the only one not in a bathing suit because I didn't know prior that they were planning on, you know, doing water balloons and all of that stuff. But she was like, Mommy, I know you have a change of clothes in the car. And I was like, damn it, kid, you're right. And I have them for potty training purposes. I always have, like, a spare set of clothes and a pair of underwear in my glove compartment, like, just in case. Which now I have to put a new outfit in the car just in case. But she had so much fun, and she didn't want to leave. And by the time we actually got home last night and got her into bed, it was, I want to say, like, almost 2 hours after her bedtime.
It was about 9:30.
Yeah, and she just, like, fought every step of the way. She didn't want to brush her teeth. She didn't want to wash her hands. She didn't want to do this. And it's because when she's tired, what she does is she tries to fight her little brain from falling asleep, and it usually is by her being disruptive and destructive and, like, running around and all these things. And you guys, no lie, we put her to bed, and I checked in on her like 3 minutes later, and she was just snoring away. And I couldn't believe it, because she's not that kid. She doesn't ever, like, wear herself out or get tired. So it was really fantastic to actually see her just, you know. But I think that is actually a really great place to end. So hopefully next week I have lots more to share with you guys. I have an unboxing from a new to me company. I'm very, very excited. That will be coming this week. I should probably post my post review for my mystery painting, huh? That's been sitting on my phone, you guys, for like a couple weeks now. So that'll come. If there's ever anything that you guys would like to see, feel free to shoot me a DM or post it in the comments below, and I will do my best to accommodate. But that's all I got for this one. If you've made it this far, let me know what your weekend plans were, if you had any. And here is a nice little piece of black drill stuck that I'm probably going to have to just... Oh, there we go. You guys don't need to see me doing that. Anyway, that's it. That's all I got. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you guys would like to see more content like this, or, you know, nothing like this at all, please make sure to give this video 2 thumbs up. One real life, one virtual. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Come, join the Sparkle Squad. And while you're there, hit that notification bell.
Dang.
I do not operate on any sort of schedule. I operate on toddler standard time, and I record when my tiny human is sleeping, or like today, sleeping. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye, guys!